New parenting trend hitting Hollywood that has celebrities including Tobey Maguire, Helen Hunt, singing its praises.
And it's called Rye Parenting. It's all about taking techniques back to basics. And joining us now is Executive Director of Rye, Deborah Solomon. Deborah, thank you for coming on the show. Good morning to you. Give us the key points. What is the aim of this kind of parenting and how do you go about doing it?
Well, we've been around since 1978 when Magda Gerber founded Rye, and we help parents and adults, helped them to raise children who are self-confident and resilient and cooperative and cheerful children who are really a pleasure to be with. The foundation of the approach is respect. And how do we have a respectful interaction with a baby from the very beginning of life? And most people wouldn't object to that. They would think that's a sound idea. But in fact, how do we do this with a baby who can't yet speak? So it may sound wacky, but we help parents to understand things from the baby's point of view. Perhaps I don't like the way you picked me up right now. That didn't feel too good. How do we communicate with somebody who's not yet verbal? Rye parents don't push or prod their babies to do something that they're not yet ready to do. So they don't encourage them or exercise them to roll over or sit up or take steps. We believe that nature has a perfect plan and that they will reach their milestones in their own time, in their own way. And I think parents find that they can just relax. There's this sort of great sigh of relief that they've been doing more than they actually had to do, and that they find that their time with their baby can be much more pleasurable and not as anxiety-ridden, and they have a foundation from which to make all sorts of parenting decisions long after they've graduated from Rye classes, which end sometime around the age of 2.
It sounds very peaceful. Having a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old myself, at times I wonder how pragmatic things can be. Can you tell me the do's and don'ts? What do you do and what don't you do? Because I'm going to take notes on this.
Oh, you're going to take notes. All right. Well, we come from the point of view that a baby is competent, even a very young baby, has a unique point of view that is just their own, has a level of competency, and that they don't need to be taught. And this is a fundamental difference. If the person who believes that a baby is fragile and helpless and is basically an empty vessel that needs to be filled and taught and is going to interact with that baby in a very different way than someone who believes that a baby is competent and can express his or her own needs, and that with a young baby, yes, we're embarking on this relationship, and maybe I need to understand your cues, but given time, if I just relax, we can get to know each other and it's all going to sort of work out. It doesn't have to be so harried. And in this country, anyway, there is a cacophony of sometimes diametrically opposed points of view from various experts saying you should do this or you should do that. But Rye really asks people to sort of pause, slow down, which is a very important piece. Slow down and take the time to observe your baby and get to know your baby. And what I always start with new parents is 2 things that Magda Gerber taught us. Slow down, because babies take much longer to process things than adults do. So move slowly, speak to them slowly, and also always tell them what you're going to do before you do it. You know, I'm going to pick you up now because I'm going to change your nappy. And this may sound wacky, like what a wacky idea, but imagine, again, think from the baby's point of view, imagine if somebody just sort of came up to you from behind and carted you off to who knows where without speaking to you or communicating to you. So just by slowing down and practicing telling the baby what you're going to do before you do it, it can help to create a real sense of calm and peacefulness, not only for the baby, but I think for the adult as well. And certainly to have a more peaceful environment, I don't think anybody would complain about that. That would be a good thing.
No. Deborah, a lot of Hollywood celebrities are taking this on board and bringing up their children with this method. Some of the things that I've been told in my notes here might be a little bit controversial. No singing, no rocking, no playpens, no mirrors, no dangling mobiles.
I don't know who got the...
And not to pick up a baby as soon as a baby starts crying.
Well, a lot of what you just read, I don't know who got those ideas. Singing is very pleasurable. Lullabies are dear and wonderful, and we wouldn't object to any of that. So
good.
I know what you're referring to, and I don't know where that came from. And in terms of not picking them up, it's just to pause before and to understand that the cry is the baby's means of communicating. So sometimes when we rush in and we swoop in quickly and we pick up a crying baby, that only increases their upset. But if we can come to them sort of with wonder, I wonder why you're crying, and be peaceful ourselves, it can help the baby to self-regulate. We would never just sort of leave a crying child, but it's how we approach them. You know, so I do feel as though this approach helps adults to find a more peaceful, less anxious place to be when they're interacting, when they're living with a baby, so that it can be more pleasurable. It doesn't have to be so frenzied and anxiety-ridden.
Yeah, well, thanks, Deborah. I certainly agree with that last point about not jumping in when they start crying, because sometimes your enthusiasm can raise the anxiety because they're crying, but you go in so desperately and they think, oh, there must be something more to cry about. I might be pretty basic in my assessment of that, but it's what I've observed actually in the early years of my parenting life.
And there's a lot of hothousing, Baby Einstein kind of stuff, and obviously that's not part of the Rye aesthetic, Deborah.
No, that's a very good point. You know, we believe that children are naturally motivated to explore their environment, and certainly the beginning of life, everything in life is new, so that play objects should be very simple. The rule of thumb is a passive play object makes for an active child. The more active the object is, the most obvious example being a television, the more passive the child becomes. So when you go to the toy store and you find sort of these blinking, singing, noisy toys, the children react to them by being quite still and inert, and they stop exploring, and they begin to look at playtime as a time to be entertained. And this can happen quite quickly. It's quite insidious. So we recommend that people choose very passive objects. You don't have to spend any money at all. Just open the kitchen cupboard.
Yeah, okay. Oh, interesting. Thank you so much, Deborah.
You're very welcome.
In stereo. Thank you.